Hi, hope you're having a fantastic day. I wanted to show you this really quick. It got brought up in a Facebook group. I'll actually pull this closer. A few days ago, I think, and then voila, I had an example of it, and I thought I'm going to show that right quick. So let's get this guy out of the way. That's an example too, but this guy here is an even better example. This lovely little aeonium. See all of this weirdness, this bumpy weirdness here? And then this guy was in the same pot. You can see some of the, here's a better example right here. So what is happening to these, right? And they were all in a pot together. See, look at this. This spotting. This is edema, and it's exactly the same as in a medical term. It means that it's excess fluid retention, right? And so what happens with these guys is, and it looks different on different varieties, and so that's why I wanted to show a couple different ones, but it definitely looks different. And what happens is when they're deprived of moisture for a long time, there's several things that can happen. One is when they're deprived of moisture for a long time and then they get too much moisture, they soak up too much moisture, and their leaves, the cells inside of their leaves actually rupture because they absorb too much. And this causes these weird little lesions on the outside. Some plants, it can look underneath the leaves like little droplets of water coming out at first, and then it turns into this, and then it will turn more into this kind of cork-like texture. This is really common in jade. They are really susceptible to doing this, even in ideal conditions. And what I mean by ideal conditions is even when you're doing exactly what they want. You're not underwatering, you're not overwatering, you're just doing exactly what you've always been doing, and suddenly, bang. I'm not going to go into all of the things to do about it right now. Obviously, reducing water and increasing light are the two main things. Increasing light is one of the main things if you have this problem. For these guys got this because they were abused, and they got so dry and then overwatered because my husband would just go up and dump water in them for me, which was totally fine. I was like, as long as he keeps them alive, I don't even care. And he is such a dear, and I couldn't get up the stairs because I couldn't do it physically, and so he kept them alive, and that was all that mattered. He did exactly what he was asked, and so no blame to him. But these guys were it was all or nothing. They were bone dry or they were crazy wet, and aeoniums don't like that a lot, and so they protested a bit, as you can see, and it hurts them, but and it can definitely kill them if it spreads too far. But as long as it's just like this on the ends or on a few leaves, it's not going to keep spreading and kill your whole plant or anything like that. It can, if too many cells obviously rupture in a leaf, then the whole leaf will die, and if too many leaves die, obviously the entire plant will die. But that's how it progresses, but it's not like it spreads or is contagious or anything like that. It's just unsightly, especially when it looks like this. And this tends to be what it looks like on jade. And this was probably a combination of sunburn and the edema. So right after this happened, it probably got a lot of sun, and so the spots were really sensitive on a leaf already, and then the sun just goes ahead and adds to that scarring, as you can see here. But the plant is still healthy. I'm making fake air quotes if I had either of my hands free, which I don't. But it's not a disease. It's just sad, and the tissue will not recover. The new grow out, as you can see here, the new growth is fine, but this isn't going to get any better. So when it happens, you have to either decide if you want to just live with it, like on these bottom leaves. I actually don't mind this at all. It's this dark kind of interesting texture, and sorry, I am really trying to get used to this new phone, you guys. My new phone views things way up closer than my other phone automatically. And so I'm having to be way back. And then anytime I try to lean in to look, then my camera ends up being off to the side. And so I'm trying to peek around, but I can't see what I'm doing because this has to be so right in front of my face. Anyways, I'll get better. Sorry, you guys. But it's, yeah, the learning curve of the new phone. But anyways, so it can look like a lot of other things. It can look like some different bugs. It can look like some different fungus or scale or a couple of things at times. It can look like, yeah, like a bacterial infection or something like that, or some kind of a dry rot almost. And so it's really hard when people post a picture like this online and say, what's wrong with my plant? Because it could be a lot of things. However, a lot of times when you tell people that it's overwatered or that it something like that, they say, no, it wasn't. You know, I'm positive it's not. And then you really can't. It's like, okay, well, if you're sure it's not, then that's good. I don't know what else to say. But it's difficult to tell unless you're kind of in person. But this is a very telltale look, especially for jade. I would say this particular type of look on the leaves when this happens. And increasing the light really helps them transpire and remove excess fluid through their leaves instead of it accumulating. So light if that starts happening. And of course, you don't want to sunburn them and stress them in the middle of that. So gradually increase if you need to. And water less. A lot of times that means changing your potting soil or pot size. I have been threatening to do a video about pot size for a while now, and I may do that, but just to mention it again here, I just can't stress enough how important pot size is, even if it looks very disproportionate to the size of plants that you have. You know, your pot needs to be proportionate to the root, to the amount of roots that are in the ground, not how big your plant is. And thankfully you can get heavier, smaller pots so that they don't tip over and aren't quite as top heavy if need be. But always keep that in mind, because when there's a lot more soil than roots, I'll get it right in a minute here. When there's a lot more soil space taken up that doesn't have roots in it, then that's that much more moisture that is just sitting there constantly available to the plant 24 hours a day, and is more likely to cause some weird problem and some edema than if it had a pot that was the correct size and was able to dry out faster, especially for plants that are very prone to it. Some people say that magnesium and other things like that can help prevent this, so using some Epsom salts in your water, etc. This is the first time I actually have ever had it happen to me, which is kind of crazy because it just came up for the first time that anyone's asked about it that I've seen in our Facebook group, like yesterday or the day before, and I went up and pulled these out and was like, oh my goodness, look at that, which I honestly expected these to be dead. So this little bit of scarring is totally fine with me. But so I can't really speak to if magnesium helps or not, but I do use it a fair amount and haven't used it on these guys. So who knows if that was a contributing factor or not. But I do know that my plants really enjoy a little bit of a magnesium drink every once in a while. So if you're having issues, give it a try. It's probably not going to hurt them. Alrighty, that's it for today. I'll give you one more little look at these leaves. I don't know if I can. Yeah, there's a little bit of damage on the underside of them, but not a ton. And some plants, the damage starts on the underside a lot more. Other ones, it seems like the top is affected to me, so I'm not entirely positive. But anyways, alrighty, you guys have a fantastic day and happy growing.